Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. We're continuing our read through of Brandon Sanderson's The Way of Kings, and we're up to the last interlude before part 3. And this is an important one. You'll remember the interludes will introduce side characters. They'll introduce interesting world building elements. Sometimes those characters are not going to come back into the story. They're just there to help show that this is a big world and there's a lot going on. Well, this interlude, Interlude 6, entitled A Work of Art, is a very important interlude because we return to the character of Szeth, who is the assassin in white who has killed King Gavilar at the beginning of our story. And the last time we were with Szeth, he was serving a master who really used him as no more than a party trick. You'll maybe remember, and it's fleshed out a little bit more in this interlude, that Szeth is able to be controlled by anyone who holds a small stone, his oathstone. We've not been given the background of where this stone came from, why he's found himself in this weird situation where whoever has this stone gets to tell him to do whatever he or she would want them to do, and Szeth has to do it. We don't know why he's called Truthless of Shinovar. Something happened in his culture, in his background, where he has been designated as truthless, without truth. And we don't know. All we know is that we find him in the midst of this really seedy bar, and his new master is using him to begin to kill all of the rival shop owners, tavern owners, bar owners, as his master now, Magic, begins to grow in influence. And the interlude is all about his next target. So Szeth is sent out in the dark of night, and he is going to attack at this stronghold the next person on essentially Magic's list. And Szeth is someone who can use Stormlight to affect his running, affect his fighting. He can what's called lash himself. He can do what's called lashing himself onto the walls, where he changes the gravitational pull so that he can run sideways on a wall where it feels like he's standing straight up. He can lash other items, which is how he's going to get into this stronghold. And he has a shard blade. Now there's something that he's commanded in whatever horrible situation was in his past where he was banished from his homeworld. He was given 2 commands. One being to obey every command given by his master who holds his oathstone, other than the command to kill yourself. And other than that, you have to do whatever they say. The second command is that he is not to reveal or to give up a shard blade that he owns. So you've got a man who we've seen is an extremely skilled warrior, is a gifted assassin, can use Stormlight. He can pull it out of these glowing Stormlight spheres, and it empowers him to run on walls and lash items different directions. Well, he uses his shard blade to cut a hole in the roof, the domed roof of his target. He doesn't let the stone crash to the floor inside, though. Before he cuts it, he lashes that portion of the stone upward, meaning it's falling upward. And it just goes careening off into the sky at an angle. And it's falling and falling and falling and falling until the Stormlight runs out. And then it crashes back down to earth. So he is very skilled in using Stormlight. And so he gets in and he finds it very odd that there's no resistance. He doesn't see any guards as he's sneaking around. He doesn't see any lights. He doesn't see any sign of life. He gets to the end of a very long hallway, and he actually uses Stormlight to lash an item down the hallway, as if that down the hallway was ground. And he drops it and it begins falling that direction to see if someone's going to jump out when they see him moving down the hallway. Well, no one does. So he does see at the very bottom of the hallway, at the very end of it, he sees a table and something on it. So he carefully makes his way down to it, and sure enough, it is the disassembled head of his target, of the one he was supposed to assassinate. And there is a dark figure, masked, hooded, not being able to be seen, who has a dark voice, who is waiting for him, clearly the man who has killed his target. He begins to, he addresses him by his childhood name, Szeth, son Neturo. And Szeth turns immediately and asks, "Who are you?" And this figure begins to ask him, "Are you satisfied with doing all of these low-end crimes? In fact, it's a crime that you are used in such an insignificant way, killing over meaningless turf in backwater villages." Well, Szeth is keeping his distance. This individual says, "I've been watching you, and you've been sent to intimidate shop owners. You've killed footpads so important that the authorities don't even waste their time tracking down these murders." Szeth responds, Who are you?" And he says, "I'm an admirer of the arts." Go on to see that this individual is working for someone else, and that someone else now is in possession of Szeth's oathstone, because this dark figure reveals a second head, and that was his previous master, Makek. And so now this dark figure is working for someone else. We don't know. That figure now is Szeth's new master. And something that Szeth has been terrified about. He brings it up in his musings earlier on in this interlude. What happens if someone who actually knows how to use my ability gets a hold of my oathstone? How much terror could I bring about? I mean, once he was used by someone to kill King Gavilar, and that almost toppled one of the most powerful nations on Roshar. What happens if someone who knows what they're doing gets a hold of me? And this is exactly what has happened. So he says, "I have something for you. There's a list on the table. It details our master's wishes." So Szeth goes over to the table, picks up a sheet of paper, and it has a list of his targets on it. Szeth says, "Glories within. These are some of the most powerful people in the world. 6 high princes, another individual, and the king of Yakaved itself." Well, who's the king of Yakaved? Yakaved is where Shalon and Yasna are currently studying. And you may remember, you should go back and check out that previous chapter where they actually have lunch with the king of Yakaved, King Taravangian, who's this kind old man who uses all of his wealth to build hospitals. He's saying that whoever has put this list together is going after powerful people and the best of people. Who owns me now? The figure concludes essentially by saying, "It's time you stopped wasting your talent." Well, the man was a soul caster. He touches a wall, it vanishes to smoke, and out he goes. When he was by himself, Szeth folded the list reverently. He was surprised that his hands were so steady, because as the interlude ends, we read, "For soon the world itself would shake." So we don't know who Szeth's new master is, but we do know that he has a hit list, and it's got some very powerful people on it. So where will Szeth's adventure take him? We'll find out. We conclude the interludes, and now we're about ready to jump into part 3 in the next chapter. So thanks so much for watching. Hope you're enjoying our walking through slowly, but chapter by chapter, of Brandon Sanderson's The Way of Kings. If you're interested, you can like and subscribe to the channel. We'll continue to work through this and other stories. There's many other videos on the channel, and continuing to read through and adding more reviews. Certainly going to be adding more book club books. But hope you're enjoying. Thanks so much for watching. We'll catch you in the next video.